Hi, I'm Chris from Foundation Podiatry. Happy New Year to everyone. This time of year we're often setting ourselves some new goals for the year, and that usually involves perhaps increasing or changing the kind of exercise that we're doing. Unfortunately, this can sometimes mean that we're a little bit more prone to getting injured during this time as well. So I just wanted to talk about a few tips on how to start an exercise program and ways that you can reduce your risk of getting injured. One of the things to consider is to make sure that you're gradually increasing how much exercise you're doing. So that will be very specific to you and to what you've been doing recently. So think about what you've been doing in the last month, the last 2 months, the last 3 months perhaps. That should inform you to how to go about increasing what you're doing. So if you're starting from nothing, then it's probably not a good idea to try and start exercising every day. Our body is pretty amazing. It can definitely adapt to an increase in load or an increase in physical stress, but it actually needs some recovery time as well so that we can form, an adaptation, if you like. Our muscles and our joints get a little bit stronger, so long as they've got enough time to repair and recover in between those bouts of exercise. So when we're looking at exercising, sometimes what we tend to do is we get a bit excited, we are super keen, we've got our goals set and we're thinking, yep, definitely this is what I'm up for this year. And so then we set our alarm for the morning and off we go, and we make it so that we'll go every single day. And that is awesome, but in itself can be part of the reason that we can get a bit overloaded and therefore that can lead to injury. So the rule of thumb that is worth thinking about is to look at increasing the amount of exercise that you do by no more than 10% about every 2 weeks. Now, that's perhaps relevant if you're beginning to exercise, if you're fairly new to exercise. So what that might look like, let's say for example, you're walking for exercise, perhaps you'll go 3 days a week, and you'll make sure that you aren't going on consecutive days, so having a day off in between. So say Monday, Wednesday, Friday might be a good strategy, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, something like that. But you're getting that day off in between so that you've got enough recovery between times. Let's say you're going for half an hour each time, so that'll add up to 90 minutes for the week. So over the next 2 weeks, you wouldn't increase by any more than 10%. So really, you're sort of trying to stick around the no more than 99 minutes to 100 minutes in that second week of exercise, and you can sort of increase that sort of nice and progressively as you go. So that's called gradual progression, and that gradual progression can be a really good way to prevent your body from being a bit overloaded. Variety is another good thing. So what we mean by variety is trying to change the type of exercise that you do on a daily basis, so that you're not using the same sorts of muscles, the same sorts of joints over and over again, which can lead them to becoming injured as well. So consider weight-bearing exercise versus semi-weight bearing exercise versus non-weight bearing exercise. So let's say walking as weight-bearing, riding a bike as semi-weight bearing, and say swimming as non-weight bearing. So you can modify the different types of activities that you're doing, which could actually enable you to exercise most days of the week, even if you are someone who's sort of fairly new to exercise. It's a little bit more gentler on your body. So the more variety you can add to your routine, the better it is for you. Probably the other thing to consider is your equipment. So if you're doing any weight-bearing exercise, the sort of shoes that you're wearing can make a big difference. Unfortunately, when a pair of shoes have been sitting in our wardrobe for the last 12 months, not doing very much at all, even though we haven't worn them, the material in the shoe still fatigues over time, and so it can mean that the shoe's not as good at giving us shock absorption when we first put it on. So it is worth considering getting a new pair of shoes if you're looking at starting an exercise program. The other thing might be to look at your bike, for example. If you are going out for a ride on your bike, again, it's probably worthwhile checking things like your tyres, whether or not your chain's well lubricated, if you need any maintenance work on your bike before you get out there. The last thing you want to do is wake up in the morning to go for a ride and find that you've got 2 flat tyres that you haven't sorted out. Same thing if you're going swimming, so check your goggles, make sure that as you're putting them on, you're not going to snap the band because they've been fatigued, the rubber has fatigued during that time that you're not using it. So do that check of your equipment before you're sort of heading off to do those different bits of exercise. Can make it far more enjoyable for you. And I guess finally, make sure you do enjoy yourself. So perhaps add a bit of a social element to your exercise. Find a mate or a buddy that you can meet up with in the mornings, or perhaps meet some friends for a coffee afterwards. it certainly makes it much easier to get up out of bed when that alarm goes off first thing in the morning, or to leave work in the afternoon to meet that friend to do your exercise with. It makes you a little bit more accountable for what you're doing. So I hope you have a great year, and hopefully stay injury free and enjoy yourself when you're out there.